Hello, I'm Mike Riley. I'm a realtor with John Ray Realty here in Monroe, Louisiana. And today I'm speaking with Todd Berry, the head football coach of the University of Louisiana here in Monroe. Todd, I appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
And I just had a few questions for you about what you're doing. How many players do you have on the team currently?
The NCAA allows us to have 105 young people on the team. Now, only 85 of those guys can be scholarship. And when you start talking about a university of this size, obviously when you're looking at roughly 9,000 students, undergraduate and graduate students, we make up just a real small portion of the university as a whole. But I think that some of the things in terms of the impact that the young people have in terms of what they do, but also just where they come from, I think has an impact on the campus as a whole.
And with 85 student athletes on scholarship, you're managing a pretty big business.
Yeah, when you start looking at certainly at the Division 1A level, which we're at, there's certainly bigger budgets than ours, but the reality of it is that I'm responsible for about $2 million inflow, outflow over the course of this year. So there's some financial obligations that kind of come with being a head football coach also.
Very much so, very much so. How do you feel about this year's recruits?
I'm excited about this group. I think we've recruited well, not just in terms of the athletes that we're bringing in, but really just the quality of people. And I think that the last two recruiting classes, I think, have shown that we know kind of what we're doing along those lines. Young people are doing well academically, they're doing well socially. We've got very little attrition, and so our retention rate is very, very high. And I think this class that's coming in is an upgrade on the previous two classes, which I think were exceptional. Yeah. So we're excited about kind of the direction we're headed, and we've done it mostly with high school players, and so there's a chemistry on the team, there's some bonding, there's some camaraderie on the team that I think is really strong, and those generally lead to some pretty good football teams whenever you have that type of bonding and chemistry.
You bet. With an average attendance last year of a little over 15,500 people, what are your thoughts on how that kind of attendance affects our local economy? Just the day of the game, or the weekend, or that brings lots of trade dollars into our area, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it certainly does. I think there's several studies. A lot of them are out on the NCAA websites in relation to what a college campus does in a city. And a lot of that has to do with what you just mentioned, whether it be a homecoming event where you know that you're going to have people there for the weekends and hotels, meals, flights in and out of the airport, all the apparel sales that kind of goes on, the clothing sales during that time frame. And the reality of it is, it's a huge boom for most cities. And certainly on a football Saturday in the South, it becomes even more significant. One of the things that we've obviously got to do is we've got to continue to, while 15,000 is not necessarily a drop in the bucket, we need to be upwards around 20. And that's obviously good for everybody. It's good for the city, it's good for the university, it's certainly good for the football program.
Amen. I know something that's big in your mind right now that's taking up a lot of your thought energy, if you will, are the conference realignments. Can you give us a little information on that?
Yeah, we're in some dramatic changes right now in college football, and this isn't the first tidal wave that's happened within a conference realignment. Certainly there's been several others over the years, and I've been doing this for 30 years, and so I've seen a couple. But I think the breadth of this in terms of reaching across all the different conferences has been pretty significant. And 2 years ago you could see this coming. And I think it's important for the city. I think it's important for this university. One of the things that I mentioned from day one was we need to posture ourselves for this tectonic shift that is happening right now in college football. And we've tried to do some of those kind of things. And we're going to need to continue to do that because it's not just a benefit to the football program. This is a huge benefit to the university, as we've already talked about, in terms of bringing the student body out, getting them involved in college activities. Generally, if they have great experiences in college, they tend to be better boosters, which is better for a university as a whole. And then obviously from a city standpoint, the success of a football program, again, all the studies have shown that it's dramatic to the city. And so while this conference realignment is still going on, And I don't know that you could talk about 20 different situations or scenarios, and you might not even hit on the right one, but the reality of it is that we're still going through this, and so consequently we have to continue to be vigilant and prepared for whatever happens.
Yeah. You touched on something there that you're very passionate about, and in your speech you mentioned this last week about why is it important that the LSU graduate down the street that does
Sure.
not have a ULM game, it does not have an LSU game to go to this weekend. What's in it for him, so to speak, or why should he attend a ULM football game?
Yeah, I think that, or an LSU one if you're in Baton Rouge and you're a ULM grad, because I think that regardless, I think that there's certainly, everyone has, as cosmopolitan as the world is now in terms of people moving in, moving out, people are very rarely anymore, because of just the world we live in the area that maybe they grew up in or where they went to college at. And while they might have an affinity for another university, which I understand, the one that they graduated from, and have that alma mater, I think it's still really significant to be able to support a local college or university. And I'm not just talking about in athletics, I'm talking about in the arts and all the other kinds of things that are involved, because if that university does well, then more than likely that economy in that city is going to do well. And if that economy in the city is doing well, then obviously there's all kinds of opportunities for the city, whether it wants to grow and expand or just become more affluent within the population base as a whole. And so universities bring a lot of money in from out of town, and there's not sometimes a lot of businesses that don't end up hurting other parts of other businesses because that money's staying in town. Right. Universities, because the young people come from all over the place. Certainly our fan base comes from all over the place, and we bring them back in. That's bringing money in from outside the city, and anytime that happens, obviously that's a good thing.
Anything to add?
Yes, as I mentioned before, it's great to be back here, and I'm excited about just kind of what's going on in the city. I'm excited about the university, and like I said, I feel like I could say those kind of things because I've lived about every place else, and so I choose to live here, and that's I think that speaks volumes in my mind anyway about the city, about the university, about the people that live in this community.
Well, and we take that as a compliment, Ben. It's like you say, you didn't have to come back. And speaking as a Monroe citizen, I'm glad you're here.
I appreciate it.
And I wish you luck.
I appreciate
and
that.
thanks for your time.
You bet.
It was great to visit with you today.